Ask Reddit by ShareFlat 4478. What's the biggest green flag that could be misinterpreted as a red flag? Being forthcoming. Some people wear their heart on their sleeve, and I wear mine on a 60-foot neon billboard 15 feet above my head. Being able to own up to and speak to personal faults and failings could easily be misread at the beginning stages of dating. I once told a woman I was seeing that I was having some feelings of jealousy over something, that I recognized those feelings as irrational, and she didn't need to do anything different. I was just letting her know. She immediately ended things. In hindsight, just a sign that things weren't going to work anyway, but sheesh. Had a coworker saying that the way I talk about my ex is both a red and green flag. Because I speak very highly of her, it seems like I'm still hung up, but it's also good that I'm not someone constantly talking shit on my ex. I think a good relationship with exes is a green flag. Not a weird obsessive hang up, but people whose previous relationships didn't end in a big fucking disaster speaks to their ability to choose good partners and to end things with maturity and grace if the time comes. If your boyfriend or girlfriend won crazy ex, well, everyone has bad luck sometimes. If they tell you all of their exes are insane, yeah, it's probably going to be the next one. Close relationship with a parent. Yes, I've met mama's boys but also sons who are attentive to his mom. Or dad. Same for daughters. Agreed. There's a difference between having a close and healthy relationship with your parents and having an unhealthy mama's boy daddy's girl relationship with your parents where they're just enabling your ineptitude and immaturity. One I only discovered recently. When a person going through some difficult stuff is less friendly and cheerful around you than they are around other people, it can make you feel defensive. You might think it means they're upset with you, but sometimes it can mean this person feels safe expressing their more vulnerable emotions around you. It's really counterintuitive. Edit. Didn't expect much traction with this one, but I wanted to add some good points responders are making. If the person is like this all the time, that's not a green flag, that's a straight up red flag. And if they are verbally or otherwise abusive, that's also a red flag. What I described above is strictly about a person being less friendly and cheerful, not aggressive abusive, while they are going through some difficult stuff, as opposed to all the time. Oh yes, this is so true. I remember being very distressed when I noticed my boyfriend was often more dull and expressive of his stresses with me compared to his friends, especially when he was going through a rough patch. But as it turns out, he was just far more comfortable sharing his problems with me. Being overly interested in you. Fascinating. Can you tell me more about yourself? I thought my husband was full of shit because he was so nice to me while dating. 6 years later it turns out he's just genuinely a good person. LMAO, I love the idea of you just casually side-eyeing this man through various major relationship milestones before standing in a beautiful home with a beautiful family being like, oh my god, he's actually just a good person. Overly kind. Someone that loves and appreciates you like a golden retriever. Some people distrust happy and warm people. One of my good friends at university was a friend of a friend first, and when I was first introduced to her I didn't warm to her very quickly because she was just so nice, though she had to be fake. She was asking me questions about myself, and although my answers were quite standard mundane, she seemed to show a genuine interest in what I was saying with some excellent follow-up questions. I didn't trust that sort of engagement. Her smiling and eye contact, it felt like she was so good at being nice to be around it had to be an act. As I got to know her more, it turned out I was just broken and she was absolutely that nice of a person. She's doing well in life and I can't think of anyone else who deserves that more. Clear boundaries. If you come in with emotional immaturity, boundaries can seem cruel, arbitrary, and alienating. At the same time, I've seen people use boundaries as excuses not to address real issues. Regret after screwing up could be misinterpreted as love bombing from an abuser. Is that the kind of thing you mean? What's lover bombing? Once a girl made fun of my color blindness on the first date. Huge grey flag. Matthew Broussard. Being quiet, reserved. It can easily be interpreted as someone being boring, not fun, unintelligent, etc. But it can also be that someone is mature, has good internal guidance, or just humble. In my case, it was an extreme lack of confidence and depression. It was crushed out of me by my former stepfather and bullies, so by the time I got out, I was quiet, reserved, sullen, and don't trust easily. I'm trying to work on it, but after a decade and a half, I've only just gotten slightly better, but only to people who take the effort to see past that. Someone being genuinely NSA nice. We're so used to people either being meh, shitty, or downright manipulative that we're on guard when someone is nice without a financial or other self-interested reason. Last time I checked, the NSA isn't very nice. Bro, when I was dating I had men get upset with me because I would admit when I was wrong. Why don't you put up a fight? Because I'd still be wrong like how? I've had the same with women in the past. If I'm wrong, I often am, I just say I was wrong and I'll try not to make that mistake going forward. It was like they wanted to fight about it and then that I make a huge show of ass kissing. No way. People are wrong every day. Just act like an adult and swallow your pride. And equally, be gracious in receiving a genuine apology. Not having any social media. Yeah, it's pretty fucked hearing from women that not having a social media presence is a red flag before. Sharing your insecurities. If you are comfortable enough with a partner to explain what makes you tick, I'd say that flag is greener than a traffic light. Holy shit, this blew up. But traffic lights are sometimes red. Quick responsive texting. None of this wait as long as a one day shit. Got something to say then please do. No games. On the flip side, understand that it's text and that someone not getting back to instantly isn't necessarily some game or something. Sometimes people are just busy or can't carry their phones. When you build a PC and attempt to start it for the first time, you may see it start up but then immediately stop. This is fine, and usually good, because if it didn't do anything, you would know something was wrong. It typically starts back up on its own after a second. As long as you see it post, you're fine. Man, I wish I would have known this before my first build. Would have saved a mini heart attack. Color blindness. Took me a second, but my red-green color blindness made me laugh. Deleted. I would suspect a scammer. Being honest, vulnerable, and accountable. To people who don't actually know what these things look like, people who think vulnerability is a weakness. For example, this can look like a massive red flag, as if honesty, vulnerability, and accountability are all covers for the master manipulator. I have one that I'm pretty certain of and girl I'm seeing disagrees. I don't think you should meet a woman's children from previous marriage until a month or so into it. Like, make me earn the right to meet your kids. Girl wants me to meet her kids on day 3 and I'm like no, and she thinks it's a red flag. Girl, you don't know me. If you want to fuck me on the first date, that's fine, but keep me away from your kids until you know I'm not a crazy person. Deleted. When my wife and I met, she thought it was a major red flag I had only been in one serious relationship before that. Turns out getting to know and love yourself before anyone else is a good thing. If having only one relationship before is a red flag, then humanity is fucked. It's like employers expecting 10 years of experience in a field that popped up only 2 years ago. Therapy, talking openly about flaws. Texting back right away lol. Which I think is stupid, but I had someone tell me that they thought it was weird that I texted back so fast, but I text everyone back fast lol. I think it's just being polite. She took it as me being obsessed or something. A big green flag that could be misinterpreted as a red flag is someone being extremely cautious and slow in entering a romantic relationship. While it may seem like they are not interested or are being distant, they might just be taking their time to ensure a healthy and stable foundation for the relationship, which can actually be a sign of maturity and commitment in the long run. This one certainly seems to be real, at least in my experience. It certainly flummoxed me back in my dating days. I am absolutely the sort of person who would rather have a dozen casual conversations before a proper first date, but apparently that ruined a lot of people's interest in me. Thankfully, I ended up with somebody who very much understands me. In the case of my own marriage, my wife grew up abjectly poor. I was raised, not rich, but decidedly middle class. Her interest in my financial stability was a self-serving way to make sure I could take care of her in a stable way, rather than her being a gold digger. And she never saw me as a way to replace her own financial contribution. Having good friends of another gender. A lot of people think guys having female best friends, or vice versa, is a red flag, but personally it shows me that you view women men as people rather than mere objects of attraction. It pisses me off so much that this is viewed as a red flag. I'm a guy with a female best friend, but we've literally been lifelong friends since we were babies. Like, obviously we aren't gonna have anything romantic going on, but it always makes me sad to see online that people tend to assume one of us has like repressed feelings or something. A male being good with kids. Guys being good with or liking kids. Not having social media of any kind. When dating my husband in the past, my family thought it was a huge. Just curious, why was that? I also don't really have a social media presence, but don't understand why that might be seen as negative. Being straight to the point and honest. People just seem to expect otherwise and treat you as such. In short, being autistic can really suck sometimes. Believe what the fuck I say when I say it, or don't, and don't waste my time. Driving a cheap car. Are they broke, or do they just use their money for more important thing than a car? Learning someone is in therapy counseling. Usually gets seen in a negative light, but actually means the person is actively working on themselves. Asking questions to get clarifications doesn't mean I don't know, I'm asking what you want done. Too many people connecting questioning and not knowing, and especially if it's a job you're purpose to know, it looks like a weakness. Still being friends with exes. Lots of people take that as a red flag for getting into a relationship. Alternative view, you mean every previous relationship you've had has ended toxically? Seems to be one common factor here. Totally depends on what kind of friend you are to your ex. Super codependent, drop everything, hang out extremely often, best friends equals huge red flag. Occasionally texting or hanging out and or blended into your friend group to the point that you wouldn't realize they're exes until someone tells you equals actually a green flag. They always smile, seem chipper, always give compliments. They aren't afraid to speak or socialize. Wait, how can this be disguised as a red flag? For me it was not gawking at her tight ties at all. She literally grabbed my hands and put them on her toots. I'm not here to assume you want to be ogled. She thought it was amusing. She said it was eye-opening to be with someone respectful to the point she didn't know if I liked her. Good communication prevailed thankfully, and she hears all about them grandtitters now. Eagerness. I love when someone is excited to see me or be around me. I don't always love golden retriever energy cause it can be tiring in general, but I never understand people who think it's a red flag that someone likes them too much. That speaks to major insecurities or immaturity to me. Eating alone anywhere. If you went out with the intent of just eating the food, who cares? Some people look at it like you don't have any friends or weird. Red flag. He lives with his mom. Reveal. His mom has Alzheimer's. He moved home so he could take care of her. They are interested in me. Lack of social media. I can see how it might be interpreted as kind of dodgy or risky, but more and more people, myself included, just can't be convinced that it's worth it to publicize every private aspect of your life. All of them. I am red-green colorblind. Being polite and amp. Respectful, being seen as flirty or sexual. Being direct with what you want and amp. Expect in a respectable manner is seen as being fast. Having a quiet personal life. Not always posting on social media. Might not even have social media. Being laid back and easygoing, if you will. I've met a lot of people who seem to say it's off-putting for them and distrust towards that person. Random. I met a girl at a bar. It was a bar with a lot of games, bowling, darts, etc. She was there with a co-worker. They hung with me and my friends for a good while. Eventually she walked away. I went to check on her because she was already pretty fucking buzzed when we first started chatting, and it had been like 40ish minimum. She's just sitting on the other side watching the hockey game. We sit and talk about hockey and then she comes out and says she's out tonight BC based on the information her BFS friends gave her. He either could be dead on their boys vacation or it's elaborate bullshit for him to ghost her, and she decided to come out and play bar games and drink and watch hockey BC. No one will come on it. What the fuck? Friends of the opposite gender, provided they aren't flirty with each other. By reasoning, I'm assuming a hetero relationship here. If you're a man, it shows that you can empathize with women, and if you're a woman, it shows that you can empathize with men. Empathy for the opposite gender is important in hetero relationships. B. It shows that you're able to maintain boundaries with people of the opposite gender. And if you're a guy, it also shows that you aren't going to be romantically sexually interested in every woman you meet. Not behaving possessively. I know a lot of people who say, oh, if your partner isn't jealous and distrusting of others around you, it means they don't care or they're cheating. Really, it might just mean they trust you not to be unfaithful. Not having any red flags is a red flag, or at least a beige flag. My partner to me, when they couldn't think of a red flag for me in the earlier months of dating,